Today, we're going behind the feathers and the floats to uncover the incredible story of one of the planet's most famous festivals, Rio de Janeiro's Carnival.
When you picture Carnival, this is probably what jumps into your mind, right? This massive, vibrant explosion of energy. It's an event that pulls millions of people to Brazil for a celebration that's just a total feast for the senses. But behind this amazing modern spectacle is a history that's way more complex and, frankly, a whole lot more fascinating than just a big party.
So that brings us to the big question we're going to tackle. How on earth did a chaotic, kind of messy, colonial-era street party turn into the highly structured global phenomenon we see today? It's a pretty wild journey. So let's dive in and find out how it all happened.
To really get what Carnival is all about, we have to rewind the clock way back to its unruly, chaotic beginnings. And it's a story that actually starts not in Brazil, but with a tradition that was brought over from Europe. It all kicks off with something called the intrudo. This was a Portuguese tradition that colonizers brought over to Brazil way back in the 16th century. Just picture this, a huge citywide food fight where people would just playfully, throw water, mud, and food at each other right in the streets. It was this messy, super spontaneous way to let loose before the much more serious Christian period of Lent. But here's where it gets really interesting. That European tradition didn't just land in Brazil and stay the same, oh no. It got completely reshaped. The rhythms that were brought by enslaved Africans and the cultural expressions of indigenous peoples, they started to mix and meld with the intrudo. And this cultural fusion, well, it created something totally new, something that was uniquely and undeniably Brazilian. And right at the heart of that incredible transformation was a new sound. This is where samba enters the story. And it's not just music, you guys. It became the cultural heartbeat of this new carnival and a really powerful form of expression for people who didn't have a voice. Samba didn't come from just anywhere. It was born in the early 20th century, specifically within the Afro-Brazilian communities of Rio. In neighborhoods like Estácio, you had descendants of Africans using music to hold on to their cultural heritage, creating this vibrant, powerful sound in the face of some unbelievable social challenges and hardship. And this, right here, this gets to the absolute core of what samba meant. It was so much more than just entertainment. For these marginalized communities, it became a powerful form of resistance and a declaration of their identity, a way to shout their culture from the rooftops in a society that was often trying to silence that. So you can see how samba acted as resistance in very real, tangible ways. It kept African musical traditions alive when they were under threat. It took a European custom and totally flipped it into something new. And it created this powerful stage to tell stories and to give a voice to struggles that might have otherwise just been erased from history. Okay, so you've got all this raw, spontaneous energy bubbling up with samba, but pretty soon it starts to get organized. This is a huge turning point when those chaotic street parties began evolving into a more structured, competitive event. And that new structure, it came from the samba schools. Now, these started popping up in the 1920s, and they weren't schools like you're thinking with desks and teachers. Nope. They were dedicated community groups. They brought together musicians, dancers, costume designers, and, this is key, storytellers, all to create one massive, complete performance for the annual parade. This is where the really cool concept of the enredo comes in. That's the theme. Each samba school picks a story to tell during their parade. And these enredos can be about anything. Seriously, from historical events and folklore to sharp commentary on social issues happening right now. This completely transformed the parade from just a procession into this massive, moving, open-air theater of storytelling. And man, you can see this evolution just explode over a few decades. In the 1920s, you got the first schools. By 1932, bam, you had the first official competitive parade. That's a huge turning point. And then, in 1984, the game changes forever with the opening of the Sambadrome. That's a purpose-built stadium that turned the parade into the global media spectacle we all know today. All right, so let's fast forward to today. The modern carnival really has two totally distinct personalities, kind of like two different faces that show up during the celebration. On one side, you have the famous Sambadrome parade. It's this highly professional, super structured competition with these enormous floats and jaw-dropping costumes, and it's all broadcast to the entire planet.
But on the other side, the original chaotic spirit of the intrudo is still alive and kicking in the blocos. These are informal, spontaneous street parties where literally anyone and everyone can just jump in, dance, and celebrate. It's the wild heart of Carnival still beating strong.
And of course, Carnival isn't just frozen in time. Technology is totally shaping its future. Live streaming and even VR are bringing the parade to a global audience like never before. Social media is changing how we all experience and share it in real time. And what I think is really fascinating is that schools are even using new tech to create more sustainable, eco-friendly costumes and floats. How cool is that?
So, as we start to pull all this together, it becomes so clear that calling Carnival just a party, well, that completely misses the point. Its legacy is so much deeper, so much more meaningful than that.
I mean, when you really get down to it, Carnival is a profound symbol of Brazil itself. It's a showcase of the nation's incredible cultural diversity, its absolutely boundless creativity, and maybe most important of all, its social resilience. It's the story of how marginalized communities held on to their heritage and reshaped a national celebration in their own powerful image. You know, there's a phrase that really just nails it. People call it a dynamic living tradition. It's not some museum piece stuck behind glass. It's a constantly evolving cultural force that honors its deep historical roots while at the same time continuing to adapt to the modern world. And ultimately, the story of Carnival leaves us with this huge, fascinating question to think about. How can any tradition honor its authentic roots, especially roots born from resistance, while also embracing all the pressures of a globalized technological future? It's a tough balancing act for sure, and it's one that Carnival performs dazzlingly every single year.